We are live, we are live, we are live. Welcome back to Talk Talk Live, ladies and gentlemen. Let me just adjust the camera right there as we do it on live on IG, YouTube. And we are live on both streams. Thank you very much for joining me. Just a little delay there, but we are here and we are ready to go. And how y'all doing on a Thursday night? Ready for the weekend, I hope. Yes, a very busy weekend, hopefully for you, as it is for me. Yes, it is. Going to see the Van Gogh exhibit sometime this weekend, which should be a fantastic occasion nonetheless. Me and the lady friend are going to do that. So again, thank you very much for joining me on Talk Talk Live. And that should be a fun time, to be fair and frank. Now, I hope you're enjoying yourself. Hopefully you have a great weekend planned. A few other things as well in mind, but I have yet to commit to those. But anyways, we're back live on Talk Talk Live. Yes, indeed. Me and the sweater and the shirt and the tie. Yes, indeed. As we speak on Thomas Sowell, and this time we are going to take a look at and review Thomas Sowell's views on Barack Obama and why he deems him to be the worst president in the United States history. Tonight's going to be a shorter night tonight, hopefully within the next half hour to an hour, but it will be under an hour to be fair. And and I hope you enjoyed tonight's review of Thomas Sowell. And yes, let's get into it tonight on Talk Talk Live on IG, YouTube, sponsored by Duntalk, DUNTALK.com. Like, subscribe, comment. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, as per usual. Thank you for the love on TikTok. Thank you for the love when I'm out there. And yeah, let's get to it. Let's get right on to it. Hopefully you are all very, 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 very well. Anyways, let's do it. Let's get on to the browser. Let's do it. And where I'm at here, yes, indeed. So again, this is part of Thomas Sowell TV. Please subscribe to Thomas Sowell TV. Again, he's just to review. Thomas Sowell is the conservative. Let me just get back onto the Wikipedia page. Fair use, fair use, fair use. Where we talk about Thomas Sowell. There he is in his younger years. Thomas Sowell is 93 years old, ladies and gentlemen. He has been a political commentator, conservative social philosopher, American economist. For that time, he graduated. He has a very esteemed education from Harvard, Columbia, and from the University of Chicago. So this man is no slouch. This man is no dullard at all. And he appeared on such shows as Firing Line with William F. Buckley. Also, he received the National Humanities Medal from President George Bush. He also was, as it says here, a senior fellow, and still is a senior fellow at Hoover Institution at Stanford University. At 93 years old, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, indeed. And we have the same haircuts, just the same. But anyways, yes, indeed, the fro always works, exactly. It's always a classic. But again, yes, as said here, Thomas Sowell is an important figure in the conservative movement during the Reagan era, influencing fellow economist William E. Williams and U.S. Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas. So he is well noted in the conservative space, but not well known to a wider political audience because he doesn't sing the black mantra of that is left wing and / democratic politics. So he's not going to be up among the elite of the political hierarchy. However, he is well noted within the political space and especially the economic space, from which he has a PhD. Yes, indeed. And he was offered. Oh well. Again, we're just going to get into it right now. Again, you can still see his. You can see, and again, just in the final note, he's the author of 45 books on a variety of subjects, including politics, economics, education, and race. He has been syndicated in columnist as a featured columnist in over 150 newspapers. And his views are described as conservative, especially on social issues, libertarian, especially on economics, libertarian conservative, or libertarian conservative. He has said that he may be best labeled as a libertarian, though he disagrees with libertarians on some issues, including those on such issues as national defense. So, that is Thomas Sowell in a nutshell. If you ever have a chance to go back and have a look at him on the show Firing Line, please do. A lot of his famous quotes came from that show. And do remember that Thomas Sowell does have a YouTube page, and that is Thomas Sowell TV, and it is well noted within the space. It has about over 300,000 subscribers, bordering on 400,000 subscribers. So please do subscribe, as I have, to Thomas Sowell TV, because this man has something to say. And again, this is a man. My dad doesn't follow politics too much, but one guy he does follow, one guy he does mention ad litem, is Thomas Sowell. But let's get into it, because two people with whom my father does love and agree with are Thomas Sowell on one hand and Barack Obama on the other. Two equidistant points on the political spectrum, to be sure, and definitely polar opposites, to say the least. But again, we're going to discuss some of the belief systems of Barack Obama, and we're going to delve it deeper with why Thomas Sowell believes Barack Obama is the worst president in U.S. history. And in this video here, find out why the worst American president was ever so low. As Thomas Sowell comments on Barack Obama's State of the Union address, I believe it's 20. Let me see what year this was. Let me see if we do have it. He may not have it here. Oh, this is a recent one as well that everybody seems to be commenting on, actually. Let me see. This is... No mention of it, but we'll find out of it hopefully on the channel here. So like and subscribe to this video. Have a look at it for yourself, and do have a watch and see if he is indeed true. But we're going to get into it right now. So thank you very much for joining me on Talk live on IG and YouTube. Like, subscribe, comment. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. Let's get into this Thomas Sowell video. Can't wait to hear what he has to say about about Barack Obama, the quote-unquote worst president in U.S. history, according to Thomas Sowell. Let's go.
Battery 70%.
A few clips of the President of the United States delivering his State of the Union address earlier this year. Clip number 1.
Higher education can't be a luxury. It is an economic imperative that every family in America should be able to afford.
Higher education, an imperative. All he's asking is that all young Americans should have the same opportunity to get a really good education that Tom Sowell had. Tom?
I love the use of the word opportunity. I had as much opportunity to become an NBA star as Michael Jordan had. It just happens that there was some difference in skill. And so the same thing with education. There is no point trying to run people through institutions that they have very little interest in, and that they may not be suited for. In fact, I would argue that one of the problems of American education is you have a lot of people in college who have no interest in what a college is supposed to be, nor is there any reason why they should.
And so
So you water down the education of the people who are there to get an education because of the people who are not there for that purpose, and who are and who you're trying to appease in some way.
And is the
and at the end of, to start out with a bang, he believes that, again, to those who earn the right to higher education, especially to the to the elite schools such as Harvard, such as Yale, such as Columbia, they should be given the spoils of that education. But you should not be using. That's not a right that should be reserved for everybody, as he did say, as may be required through affirmative action quotas at MIT. To be fair, right, as reserved through affirmative action quotas and literal, designations for race with regards to attendance at elite schools. He says that the places for at Columbia and MIT were for the best and brightest, and that alone. That's it. There's no two ways about it. There's no getting around it. And again, this may be seen as a bit harsh to some, especially those from the left of the aisle. However, Thomas believes that if you study hard enough, then you should be reserved that place in that school, and if not for nothing else. And again, it is a very stringent policy that he adheres to, but again, it's one that he shares with most people. So again, as he alludes to the fact that if he was Michael Jordan, then he would be one of the best basketball players, and that would allow him to receive a basketball scholarship and beyond into the pro game. However, those pro positions are only reserved for the chosen few, and the chosen few who work hard enough and study hard enough should be given that place, and not anyone else of a certain race, of a certain gender, of a certain ideology and alphabet gang. So let's let Thomas continue with that.
Impulse that we just saw of Barack Obama and his supporters to constantly more and more people run them through college, and that's to enhance the standing of intellectuals in society, to teach more and more Americans to defer to intellectuals. Is that part of what's going on?
It's to win votes, frankly.
All right. Straightforward as that. President Obama once again.
Just before that happens again, he reiterates the fact that President Obama is indeed trying to win votes here. He's trying to, as they say, carpet bag his elections. He's trying to dog whistle liberals into his policies. And again, there is a notion for that. There is a place for that in his theories. However, again, it's some believe that having such places within these schools it should be allowed for certain people because of their because of their disadvantage throughout history, and their disadvantage into modern day. But again, there is a place for his argument that you should be given that place on merit alone. So let's continue.
I will not cede the wind or solar or battery industry to China or Germany because we refuse to make the same commitment here. We've subsidized oil companies for a century. That's long enough.
This is pre-Solyndra, of course.
Pre-Solyndra. Tom?
This notion of picking out something and calling it a good thing, like education or affordable housing or whatever it might be, everything is a matter of trade-off. What did the man say there?
That he will not cede wind or solar or the battery industry to China or Germany because we refuse to make the same commitment.
It's amazing that here is a man talking about 5 different industries, in none of which he has the slightest experience. But because he has these degrees from the places you mentioned, he thinks, and people have told him how clever he is, he now thinks that he can do this.
So can you...
No human being on this planet can do this.
Can you explain, Tom, the particular appeal to intellectuals of the kind you describe here, of the green movement, of the environmental movement?
Oh, it shows them again in the role they relish. They're the wise and noble, forcing the rest of us poor dummies to do what's right, even though we don't want to.
So it's what your old friend Karl Marx would have described as the will to power.
Yes.
All right. You don't want to cut them a little slack. You're just saying it's ego and pride and vanity.
Yes.
Let's go. Let's listen to that again. Let's listen to that again. I think that has to be heard again from Thomas.
We refuse to make the same commitment.
It's amazing that here is a man talking about 5 different industries, in none of which he has the slightest experience. But because he has these degrees from the places you mentioned, he thinks, and people have told him how clever he is, he now thinks that he can do this.
So can you
No human being on this planet can do this.
Can you explain, Tom, the particular appeal to intellectuals of the kind you describe here, of the green movement, of the environmental movement?
Oh, it shows them again in the role they relish. They're the wise and noble, forcing the rest of us poor dummies to do what's right. Even though we don't want to.
So it's what your old friend Karl Marx would have described as the will to power.
Yes.
All right. You don't want to cut them a little slack. You're just saying it's ego and pride and vanity.
Yes.
All right. Once again, the president.
Again, quite the statement there from Thomas. Now, this one I tend to disagree with to a certain extent. Just because Barack may not know enough about the subject, because again, he's no expert. He never did receive such degrees, but through his willingness to learn, the willingness to change, he's willing to hear the other side. Now, again, Thomas would deem that as an ego play, and literally would see Barack as one who, through his degrees and through his vast amount of knowledge, would use such a platform to show that he is a leader in a certain industry that he may not know. However, even if you don't know about much of the subject, the fact of the matter is it is where things are going, and that we need to be knowing. So again, it can be seen as an ego play. It can be seen as a man who's driving through Karl Marx's idea of will to power. Yet, it is something that must be tried now, and that is something that Thomas Sowell disagrees with, and he has every right to do so. Yet, I think it's something that we need to dabble into as we go forward in our human existence, and to deny ourselves of that opportunity is again a bit myopic, but to view it as a play to an ego, to Barack Obama's ego, to the ego of a democratic view, it's seen as a bit short-sighted. Yet, let me say this. I mean, there are certain things that you may not. I may have prefaced with before the show is the fact that Barack and Thomas are deemed as certain heroes on either aisle. I would see I would see them to be a part of my cabinet of rivals. To be fair, but again, it is. I must side on the issue with Barack Obama on this. In this one, is in the fact that Barack clearly doesn't want to lag behind in such ideas, and it is not seen as an ego play. It is something that needs to be done for the furtherment of our planet, either now or later. So again, can be seen as a will to power through the Marxist view. So again, I will cede on the side of Barack Obama in this instance. But again, it is an important point to note on the part of Thomas Sowell. Let's continue.
President of the United States.
Tax reform should follow the Buffett rule. If you make more than $1 million a year, you should not pay less than 30% in taxes.
Okay, this is where they're going to be
and my Republican friend Tom
points,
Coburn
as you can
right.
see by the shaking head.
Washington should stop subsidizing millionaires. In fact, if you're earning $1 million a year, you shouldn't get special tax subsidies or deductions. On the other hand, if you make under $250,000 a year, like 98% of American families, your taxes shouldn't go up.
I love it.
Tom?
When people keep their own money, that's called subsidizing them. I love it. You know, that's the brilliance of intellectuals. That they can use words in such a malleable way that they can. I mean, Obama has an absolute talent for saying things that make no sense, but not only sound plausible but inspiring. You know, we're subsidizing the oil companies when they deduct the cost of doing business, in order to arrive at the figure of how much net income they have. Everybody does that.
Right. So this notion, though, that if you
Okay, before he gets into that, because again, this is a quite this is the where the rubber meets the road here, and how and where Barack Obama. Sorry about that. Oh my goodness. And how Barack Obama really gets under the skin of Thomas Sowell, and how he deems him, how Thomas Sowell deems Barack Obama to be the worst president in history, and the fact that he would see taxing the rich in order to pay their fair share of the tax bill as being a quote unquote a subsidy, a quote unquote subsidy towards the poor, so that they can keep more money and redistribute wealth. Where Thomas Sowell's idea is the fact that he wishes to it is through the rich having these tax breaks that they will again redistribute that wealth towards the rest of the economy and further it and have it grow. Now, let this be said: Thomas Sowell is a Reagan economist, so therefore he is definitely about taking away government programs and giving the rich tax breaks so that they can fuel an economy. A lot of Reagan's better economic initiatives were written through Thomas Sowell. So again, he's very, very much a conservative in this viewpoint, and he would forever rail against Barack Obama for the taxes that he would levy against the rich. So again, this is the crux of the argument where he would deem Barack Obama to be the worst president. So again, it take it as you will, but again, it's a sense that needs to be discussed, quite simply. So let us continue with it.
if you're rich, you ought to pay more. Straightforward enough, no?
It is straightforward, but it's also straightforward nonsense.
Why is that?
People don't. They often speak of people who are rich as people who happen to have money.
Right.
Extremely few people happen to have money.
There aren't that many Rockefellers.
Well, but Rockefeller didn't happen to have money.
But his heirs happen to have it.
The heirs happen to have money.
So you're going
Rockefeller reduced the cost of oil to a fraction of what it had been before him,
right,
benefiting millions of people across the country. Therefore, they bought their oil from Rockefeller rather than from people who had more expensive ways of producing oil, for example, one of them being the use of tank cars on the railroads. The progressives were livid that Rockefeller could ship his oil at a cheaper price than the other producers. It never occurred to them that Rockefeller shipped his oil in tank cars, which are a hell of a lot cheaper to transport than in barrels.
Right.
I mean, we still measure oil in barrels today, but we ship it in tankers.
Right.
And that's how he became a multi-billionaire.
So we know from the study of economic history that wealthy people get wealthy by creating jobs, lowering prices of products. Rather than Bill Gates, the richest man in America, one of the richest men in the world, invented an entire industry that simply didn't. All right, we know all that, and we also know, as we mentioned earlier, that cutting taxes worked to spur economic growth in the 20s. Again, under John Kennedy in the 60s. Actually, it was Johnson who ended up. Most of the tax cuts took place, let's call it under the 60s, and then again in Ronald Reagan in the 1980s.
And then George W. Bush.
And George W. Bush. So how is it that he can stand there in the face of this overwhelming evidence and be taken seriously? I'm not asking now about Barack Obama as an intellectual. I'm asking about the people listening to him.
That's the question of the hour. You have people who don't stop and think. You've had dumbed-down education. You've had propagandistic education. And people, what he's saying connects with all those kinds of things.
All right.
In fact, it goes the other way too. I was just doing some research on Detroit and its decline, and they kept raising the city income tax. And every time they raised the tax rate, the tax revenues went down. In 2008, Charles Gibson put this to Obama when he was a candidate. He said, "Why are you for raising the tax rate on the rich? Because you often get more revenue at lower tax rates than at the higher tax rates." And he said, "Well, it's a question of social justice." In other words, he doesn't really care about whether the government raises more revenues. If he can get people mad at the rich and they vote for him, then then it's a success. Just as Coleman Young's policies in Detroit were a great political success for him.
Mm.
It ruined Detroit, but it didn't.
I just have you and I happen to be reading on a similar subject. From 1950 to the present, two things happened. One was that the population of the United States of America roughly doubled, and the other was that the population of Detroit fell by roughly half.
Yes.
Unbelievable. All right. You write in Intellectuals and Society.
Okay, so I mean, looking at that again, I think that's the crux of why Thomas Sowell deemed Barack Obama to be the worst president in history. Is the fact that he doesn't look at history itself and see the fact that it is through tax breaks to the rich that America enjoyed its best period in its most productive and its greatest growth in its country's history. And it is through innovation through the rich that allowed for prices to be lowered for all people, especially through the Rockefellers' use of transportation and its innovations of using tanker trucks and tanker rail in order to lower the cost of the cost of oil, and at the end of the day, make it a benefit for all. So again, Thomas Sowell sees Barack Obama's policies as indeed, just simple, popular politics in the sense of he's using a sort of a dog whistle sort of an issue to obtain more votes and more and a greater political appeal to the masses. Which again, that can be fair, but we have to realize that Barack Obama was a great orator, and he used his voice on certain subjects to bring people together, and again, through his other policies, allow for prosperity in the American Republic. Now, again, it wasn't the way Thomas Sowell would have it, of course, and would agree with, but again, it still was quite effective, unfortunately. And during Barack Obama's prime, I think he did rescue the Republic from recession, in a deep one at that, to one of the better times in its history. So again, I take the point of Thomas Sowell here, but again, I would it's just two sides to a way forward. And again, two different philosophies. One through tax and spend, the other through indeed, giving tax breaks to the rich and allow for that trickle down economics to foster the great expansion of an economy. Two avenues which have proven to be relatively successful, but they're two different philosophies. A philosophy with which Thomas Sowell would disagree with in terms of how Barack Obama went about doing things, and would deem himself to be the worst president in history, because again, it is a a cheap, quote unquote, a cheap trick towards becoming popular within the voting establishment and staying in power and in office. So again, he sees it as not exactly intellectual genius, but rather a quick and easy bump towards popularity and better a longer time in the presidency. So again, I'll let him continue and ride out with this.
Society about the intellectual's view of diplomacy and military affairs. One last clip of the President of the United States.
Thank heaven I'm sitting down.
Look at Iran. Through the power of our diplomacy, a world that was once divided about how to deal with Iran's nuclear program now stands as one. The regime is more isolated than ever before. Its leaders are faced with crippling sanctions. And as long as they shirk their responsibilities, this pressure will not relent.
Tom, will you sleep better tonight having heard that?
I may take a sleeping pill so I can forget it. This man has diddled with Iran to the point where the military people are saying, even if we decide to go in and bomb that place, they're so dispersed, so far underground, it's by no means clear that we can do it. The time when he was going through all this wonderful diplomacy he talks about was precisely the time when those things were put underground and dispersed. It's like when Hitler was arming, that as Churchill said, at one point, a memorandum could have stopped Hitler. Because the power was so lopsidedly on the side of the Western democracies. It's like they could say, stop rearming or else. And we can't do that with they diddled with Iran to the point where now we don't know.
Now, but there's something interesting about, to me, whereas with social policy, intellectuals tend to go for the policies that give them greater power. What greater power could an intellectual seek than military power, the power to blow things up? So
because they believe that again that their intellect is the unique factor that is going to save us. And to say that there are a bunch of military people are going to be more effective than doing all these terribly clever things that Obama is doing undermines their whole position.
I see. All right.
Again, thanks very much to Thomas Sowell there on that issue of Iran. And again, it goes to show it's a right makes white policy. But let's just review that one more time.
I may take a sleeping pill so I can forget it. This man has diddled with Iran to the point where the military people are saying, even if we decide to go in and bomb that place, they're so dispersed, so far underground, it's by no means clear that we can do it. The time when he was going through all this wonderful diplomacy he talks about was precisely the time when those things were put underground and dispersed. It's like when Hitler was arming, that as Churchill said, at one point, a memorandum could have stopped Hitler. Because the power was so lopsidedly on the side of the Western democracies. It's like they could say, stop rearming or else. And we can't do that with they diddled with Iran to the point where now we don't know.
Now, but there's something interesting about to me.
Stopping there just quickly.
Whereas
Barack Thomas Sowell is saying that the Iran policy was literally employed by the American by his administration to beat a dead horse, and there was nothing to be gained from American occupation in Iran, and all those funds could have been better redistributed towards the economy and to its betterment, rather than monitoring things in Iran, because things had, as he said, been driven so far underground that there was no need for him to be there. So again, it is again seen as a popular sort of subject matter to gain votes. Quite simply, and there's something. There is something to be said about that. I think being out. This is one I have to agree with Thomas Sowell on, is in that being outside Iran, even though one can monitor it from with a very serious eye towards things, it still was a time where you could release and use such and use such monies outside of Iran to fuel a better economy, to fuel a better America. So it's something that Barack Thomas Sowell believes was used to the policy in Iran, the foreign policy of the American of Barack's administration in Iran to to keep its popularity high, quite simply, while still looking at being seen as a figurehead within the Middle Eastern community as well. So it was a win-win situation. It was let's say this. It was an easy 2 points. It was an easy 2 points in basketball Ali's for Barack Obama. It was an open layup, and that he chose to take that Thomas Sowell, which he did not choose to take. Let's continue.
With social policy, intellectuals tend to go for the policies that give them greater power. What greater power could an intellectual seek than military power, the power to blow things up? So why
because they believe that again that their intellect is the unique factor that is going to save us, and to say that there are a bunch of military people are going to be more effective than doing all these terribly clever things that Obama is doing undermines their whole position.
I see. All right.
A very an interesting point made there by Thomas Sowell on at that last bit there, in the fact that Thomas holds that with Barack having the intellectual high ground, that he is able to inspire people to follow his policies, which were quite simply redundant. And if people saw that Barack was had such an appeal within them that whatever he'd say, people would follow him. And for the most part, that is indeed true. I mean, Barack was a very, very popular president, one of the more popular presidents in modern history. And I think that we fell under his gaze, a bit too. Well, I wouldn't say a bit too easily, but it was it was akin to Camelot during the Kennedy period, and we were all under his gaze, and we were all at a time of ease and some political sort of unification during that time. However, again, this is a time where the Tea Party came to power. This is a time where, there was an ugly right wing, sentiment that came from the U.S. politics, and that which disliked Barack Obama to the core, and which breeded the likes of the 45th president of the United States, Donald Trump. So again, it was a give and a take, and even though Barack was seen as a highly intellectual president and a very popular president, that it did foster the right to further their hatred for Barack, fight for him on at every tooth and nail, go against him on on many a policy, including Obamacare, which he finally got through special order, and allowed for which it still exists to this day. But again, so it was a double-edged sword, to be fair. And but again, in full view of why Thomas Sowell saw Barack Obama as the worst American president ever, he does have a few points. He does have a valid few points, mainly based on the fact that Barack was a very popular president and used that popularity towards certain policies that conservatives would deem as ghastly. But again, it did fuel a better economy, and pretty much broke down a lot of barriers with regards to race relations. Although he did open very much many wounds on the right, especially especially on the far right, especially on the with regards to the racist space. So again, take that as it will. So thank you very much to Thomas Sowell for that. I think that was a bit eye-opening, and really it was something that needs to be discussed. Please have a look at it for yourself. Find out why the worst American president was ever so loved. A very, very eye-opening post and discussion indeed by Thomas Sowell on Thomas Sowell TV. Do like and subscribe if you care to do so. So again, I'm gonna leave it there tonight. Let me see where we're at here. I think we should be at the half-hour mark, and we are. We're after 40 minutes. Yes, indeed. So again, thank you very. But again, I want to keep tonight short and sweet. I really did, and because I have a few other things to attend to at the moment. But Thomas Sowell. In synopsis, you don't hear of a man like Thomas Sowell, but again, there are more conservative, black conservatives ever, like Larry Elder, and the like, and notable, and the like. Let me just go here quite quickly, and I will bring up the browser quite quickly for you. So again, Thomas Sowell brought forth. Well, I'm not going to do that quite simply. I think we're going to sum it right there. Sorry about that. There's a little bit of an audible, but again, Larry Elder, a lot of and a lot more black conservatives. I think Thomas Sowell could walk so that a lot of these black conservatives could run. And it is duly noted in that Thomas Sowell, even at 93-year-old at his 93-year-old age, is still very, very popular within the political space, the American political landscape, the black and the American conservative experience, and especially and in the economic bodies worldwide. Now, again, And again, he's wrote a new book, Social Fallacies, which is out now. He wrote it as of 2023. He's still a senior fellow at the Hoover Institute of Stanford University, which is fantastic. But again, we have a lot to learn from Thomas Sowell, and I think what he brings to the table are new thoughts, especially and the establishment of the black conservative as not being some sort of anomaly or zebra, but I think he's allowed for a lot of Trump support, black Trump supporters, because again, he's a supporter of Trump to a certain extent. Let me see if I can do this quickly, just to fill out the hour. Let me see here, Trump. Let me just go here on YouTube. Yes, I'm gonna stop that there for now. Hopefully it stops. No, it's not gonna stop. I'm gonna have to stop it. There we go. Thomas Sowell on Trump. I really wanted to do this to see, just to round out the hour. Thomas Sowell on Trump, and really get his take on things, because again, he was part of because again, he was seen as a man who didn't back Trump for a while, but as you can see, he's changed his views on Trump, as can be clearly seen. And again, this was recently taken. This was recently about 3 days ago, actually, quite simply. As he did not like Trump for a while, but now he switched views on Donald Trump right now. So again, let us go to those. I will. Let me just see here. Yes. Here we go. So let's go to. Let me see here. I'm just trying to see if I can select something that to which is a bit more time sensitive. Here we go. So we're gonna follow on with Michael Duffy, I believe. I think he did something a few days ago with regards to Donald Trump. Yes, I think that'd be the safe bet. I think that would be an absolutely safe bet. So let's go to what Michael Duffy said about how I was wrong about Donald Trump. Let me see if I can get the actual video here. And shout out to Michael Duffy for finding this out.
Wait a second. Did he just change his mind? We are back with another reaction video. It's time checking out Thomas Sowell reverses position on Donald Trump. If you don't know who Thomas Sowell is, I've seen a few videos. He's one of the greatest intellectual minds of our time. And he did not have good things to say about Donald Trump in the past video. Well, let's see if he changes his tune and what else he's got to say about him in the year 2023. Nor do what to expect, so why don't we jump into it and see what it's all about, all right? Let's do it.
Mandatory subject, Donald Trump. During the presidential campaign, you wrote a column, this is when you still had your column, that appeared under the headline, Choose Trump. He'd be easier to impeach. And you wrote that voters faced a choice between, I'm quoting you, two out-of-control people, one of whom is going to be president. And you said since Hillary Clinton would be the first woman chief executive, she'd be very difficult to impeach, but Trump would be easier to kick out, so vote for Trump. Now that he's been in office for a year, what do you make of him?
Well, it's interesting.
I love this guy.
Oh, gosh. You know, let me say that just recently, Walter Williams sent me a video of Donald Trump in his mid-30s being interviewed. And so I've had to back off on one of the things I've said, which is that Trump is someone who has simply never grown up. He was very grown up in his mid-30s.
Speaking of retrogression.
And it's scary because how many people are more mature in their mid-30s than they are at age 70?
All right.
And given the trend line, how optimistic should we be about his becoming more grown up as time goes on?
All right.
But in terms of the people he surrounded himself with, I think on the whole, they're a better bunch than either of the last two presidents had. So he has very good people. I think Jim Mattis as
Defense.
Yeah, but other people are around him, and the question is he going to listen to them?
All right.
That's a good point that he said.
So again, I just bogarting here. Sorry if I had to start the speech of Michael Duffy here. But again, I digress and say that again, he's Thomas Sowell was not a fan of Donald Trump at all. However, but in looking back at his view of Donald Trump in his 30s, he saw that he was more more erudite and intellectually sound at that time than he is in the 70s. However, he has surrounded himself with people who are of sound mind within them, including the former defense secretary, as mentioned there in the video. And you know, it is good that he had these people around him so that he could carry on a certain gravitas in his administration, but it didn't exactly help him while he was in office. I'll let Mike continue here on this.
Do a brief
because
excerpt.
Is Donald Trump the most mature person on earth? No, absolutely freaking not. He is a bit of a showman and entertains for everybody else. But I mean, that's what people want. People want someone that's true and direct and just says it how it freaking is. They don't have to be politically correct all the time. Because where is that leading us? That is leading the United States straight down. We need someone who just says it how it is, just goes after it, and just does what they say they were going to do. And Donald Trump, you can call him a lot of things. You cannot call him a liar in this regard.
Of Donald Trump.
Okay, so again, as you can see, Michael Duffy is a true Trump supporter, to be fair and frank. And again, so this is slightly a bit biased on in this stance. However, let's be fair and frank. Donald Trump didn't exactly. He wasn't the greatest of statesmen. He did act on impulse, and that impulse really got him into a lot of hot water, and to a lot of suits with which he's dealing with right now. I think he's got about 60. I think it's 60 million or 60 million and upwards in lawsuits against him pending now. I think he has 3 lawsuits against him. So and further and more incoming. So that's why he needs this presidential run so badly. But again, Mr. Duffy's entitled to his opinion, even if if he acts off the cuff and without any sort of grace period whatsoever. But again, he was the 45th president. He's trying to be the 47th president again, and all I can say is good luck to him. But he's gonna need it. To be fair, let's continue.
Trump himself. This is from the State of the Union address this past January.
This will be my first time to hear it.
Something I'm very proud of. African American unemployment stands at the lowest rate ever recorded.
How do you not stand for that?
Okay.
What?
Oh my!
He produces a maybe the statistic isn't quite right either. Maybe
No, it is. It is.
It is.
Yeah.
And there you see a shot. You see Republicans standing and applauding, and there you see a shot of Democrats who are sitting on their hands, including many members of the Black Caucus
Yes.
in Congress. What do you make of that?
That, as with so many other groups around the world, the leaders of groups that are lagging are often themselves one of the biggest handicaps of those groups, because they have to depict the problems in ways that will allow them to play the role of rescuers. And so there'll be no talk about how you can do this or that for yourself. There'll be talk about what we can get the government to deliver for you. And usually that's a lot of words and things that have bad effects.
That is well said.
And that's true not only with blacks in the United States, it's true of,
True with everyone.
people in
That tells you everything you need to know.
Okay, well, thank you very much for Michael Duffy for his interjection on that. I'm going to leave it to him because, again, he's more of a conservative viewpoint. So, again, I try to give a more balanced view. But do subscribe to Michael Duffy. Thank you very much for fair use. I appreciate Mr. Duffy for the use of the content, which I try to find myself. But, however, I have found it in this way, and I want to do it in a more, in a more concise way, and I think he's allowed me to do that. And again, I say what I say about Donald Trump is, and I mean what was said about the Black Caucus at the time. Now, the Black Caucus is very much a rather significant group within the Democratic Party, and it's considered the Democratic Black Caucus. But again, he's saying what he says is makes a lot of sense in that if you indeed go against such a policy, then your leaders, there's nowhere for your leaders to go. So you have to object, so that you have to object to such a such a political, well, I wouldn't say political view, in such a statistic from Donald Trump, in that it will, guide your voting public towards where you want to go. So again, followers must have a leader, and that leader wants you to, have the moral high ground and have their your votes in the back pocket. So again, it would be sacrilege for you to rail against such a statistic as viewed by Donald Trump. And it looks like that was the State of the Union address in 2017. However, so again, it is incumbent. It is important for the leaders of the Democratic Black Caucus to appear to be against such a statistic, because again, that will carry you forward quite simply within your voting public, and will have you given the higher ground to lead them towards a quote unquote brighter tomorrow, and through democratic policies. But that statistic can't be denied. Donald Trump did supposedly do well in terms of unemployment with regards to the black African American constabulary, and not through their own merits, quite simply. So anyway, that's neither here nor there. But again, I just wanted to see if I could tie a little bow on that, and I think I have, quite simply. So again, he is. Oh, did I not turn the cam off? Oh, I guess not. But again, I hope you heard that on Talk Live on YouTube. But again, it is hopeful that one can get a better view of Thomas Sowell, because he's a man that needs to be heard from. He's a man who deserves a bigger platform, quite simply, and he is one who really, deserves greater praise from the American and world public with regards to his views. And he has, as he says, he's written over 35, over 20, 30, I think 30 books, I believe. Let me just verify that. Let me just make sure that was indeed the case. It was, yes, 45 books. There you go, including his newest, Social Fallacies. And he's a syndicated columnist in more than 150 newspapers. So again, he's a well-read, very erudite economist, and one that should be listened to going forward. And I see him as a black hero, quite simply. But he's not one to. He's not one to be a shrinking violet in these days and times, and I'm very, very happy for that. Excuse me, sorry about that. That just jumped out at me. But again, thank you very much for you, Thomas Sowell. I really hope that wish you longer life. He's 93 at this time, and again, he is still going strong as the senior fellow at the Hoover Institute at Stanford University. And again, I hope that you all give a listen and give a read to some of his policies, because again, he's one to watch, definitely so. But I'm glad that we had this discussion on Thomas Sowell regarding Barack Obama and how he deems to be the worst president in history. But again, they're diametrically opposite in terms of their viewpoints, and it's to be fair, they're not going to be friends. Yet I think both opinions are to be respected, and in certain capacities, I do agree with Thomas Sowell on. Let me just get back the camera to myself. I do agree with Thomas Sowell in terms of certain aspects, especially in terms of foreign policy, and in terms of the economy, in terms of tax breaks, and it is hoped that you get do some reading on Thomas Sowell and get a better view on Thomas Sowell, because again, he is a national a national treasure, to be fair, and I think he'll be greater read well into his years. And again, I'm happy that he has a platform with which we can discuss his views. And I appreciate you joining me here on Talk Live. We've reached the hour mark. Finally, we've reached the hour mark. And again, I thank you very much for joining me on Talk Live. And this will go out straight away. But tomorrow night we'll get a little more sensational. I know I've failed to. I wouldn't say failed. I have to reach the common folk among us. So again, I will do that tomorrow night with something a bit more serious. I'm debating between either mass incarceration or relationship issues. So I will decide that tomorrow night on Talk Live, and again, I will post such ideas on IG and on YouTube and on TikTok, and also through my Facebook page. So thank you very much for supporting Talk Live. Like, subscribe, comment on the road to 1,000 subscribers, especially on my Facebook and my TikTok page, which is getting bigger and better as we speak. So I thank you very much for that, and I'll leave you tonight. And do remember Thomas Sowell, because again, he is a man, he is a myth, and he is a legend, to be fair. And I appreciate you joining me tonight, and we'll be back tomorrow night with again, a little lighter subject tomorrow night, to be fair and frank. But I appreciate you joining me on Talk Live, and we'll see you tomorrow night. And I hope you have a very good night, and all the best. And I'll speak to you soon. And good night from Toronto. Thank you very much for joining me on Talk Live on YouTube. I just said goodbye on IG, and it is great that you are with us tonight on this view of Thomas Sowell. So we're gonna leave it there, and we're gonna speak on a more lighter subject as stated tomorrow night. So do join me for that. I have yet to discuss it, so watch for my feeds on IG and on TikTok and on Facebook as to the subject matter. So I do appreciate you being with me on Talk Live, and we'll discuss things more then. So thank you very much for joining me on Talk Live. Like, subscribe, comment on the road to 1,000 subscribers. Sponsored by Dun Talk. We will be in Dun Talk here tomorrow, believe me. Have to support the sponsor. And the spring summer line is soon to be out in full force. I would say within the next week or so. I would say that, yes, indeed. But again, thank you very much for